Hello friends, how are you all doing today? Hello Solanum, Trinity, Buck, Getty. Hello Kobold, hello Hensha. Hello to everybody who's lurking, and everybody who's having a good day. Hello Aware. I still think I'm still calling it Aware. It just seems, I don't know, it just seems right. So, hi. I don't have a lot of plan for today other than that I'm just going to talk about what's going on in the channel, what's going on in my life, and answer any questions and thoughts that you guys had. See, I've mentioned before stuff about my job situation, and though I have been looking for a new job, one has not come my way, and I am leaning towards the idea of becoming more of a full-time content creator for a year to see if I can pull it off, to see if I can get there. Hello, Brenda. Now, this involves getting a part-time job and then doing YouTube as a full-time job, you know? And if I can get YouTube up to part-time job money through the making of a new channel, through edited meme videos, through other things, then that will be a good thing. Hello, Tuzzy. And that could be sustainable, and then eventually, if it grows, maybe it can get to the point where I don't need that extra part-time job, and then after that, maybe all of my dreams can come true. Or then I might need to stop and get a new job, and, you know, I'll be where I was before, but something in this direction seems right. I have no idea what the Joe is going on. So that's kind of where I am thinking in terms of stuff and junk and stuff. To do that, I will be making a video essay and working on a new channel in that. I would appreciate if you stopped spamming, or at least explain yourself? I don't understand what you're doing. You're just saying the word Joe and then following it with every emoji in the book. You are making no sense. Oh well, mods can deal with that however they want. Yeah. So, involving in this would be a video essay, involving in this would be a new channel for working on stuff, and working on memes here, possibly changing my upload gameplay stuff into locally. Possibly changing my upload gameplay stuff into edited content that I upload in the that I can create in advance. You know. That would be another path. I am uncertain, and it's okay to be uncertain because the world is uncertain, and I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the world's going to give me. But I do know that I love this, and this brings me happiness. And if I can even survive off of doing this, then I want to. You know? Right now, YouTube pays for YouTube. The money I get for YouTube pays for games, hardware, equipment, stuff like that. So I am at a point where I can improve myself and grow. And I'm excited for that. In the terms of the short term, though, I'll be still working at my job until it goes away. I've mentioned how that company is going to be going under in the near future. We'll continue gaming the algorithm. I appreciate that, I really do. Oh, I also hit 3K. I don't know if people noticed. Yeah, I had a nice upsurge of people who are watching. Oh my goodness, even more than that. Of people who were watching the Indigo Park. That seemed to do very well recently. So I have broken the 3,000 mark after a hot minute. And welcome to all the new people who are watching off the back of that. That was a fun playthrough. I'm actually really proud of that video. It was mostly me talking about urban exploration. You said grats, but yay! Yeah, yesterday's stream was cool, but it was a stream that was, you know, I couldn't talk a whole lot during it, because, well, it was a special recording thing. That was more of a live recording for the GDQ thing. And yes, if that happens, that will be a face reveal. I will be doing it at GDQ on site and actually live in there. I'm not too worried about that. I've already had a face reveal. I'm not that concerned about all that. 2K, wait, no, it was 10. It was 10,000 Trinity. It was 10, not 2, not 5. I think. Probably. Okay, I don't know. An urban exploration-based focus game without horror elements could be really fun. It could. And I feel like, what was it? I feel like Edith Finch was more in that direction, where it was less horror adjacent and more exploration and learning and stuff. What are my opinions on Scrum in software development? So, so my first thought is Scrum VM, which is not what you're talking about. It's good. I mean, Sprint is you know, a good system as well. You know, like working through Sprint systems. But I think that Scrum framework is entirely reasonable. The important thing, though, is that there does have to be functional review. Review cannot be glossed over. Because review cannot just be, alright, cool. It needs to be an actual status check, make sure that people are on track and working towards progress. I think, and a lot of companies ignore the review part of a Scrum process in favor of, well, a lot of companies have the idea that anything that is not work is not correct, you know? And that's wrong. You need to step back for several hours a week while in work mindset and review, analyze, critique. That is an important part of design that a lot of people ignore because it's not quote-unquote productive. But it's what makes things good. It's what makes, you know, your project actually release in a good manner as opposed to simply being shoved out the door. So I think that Scrum is a very good method of doing things. It's just really often done poorly. GDQ will be so much fun if we go in. Absolutely. No, it will be an absolute delight, and I am genuinely looking forward to that. And if we do, I'll also offer myself as a host. I know a couple people who are on staff in there who might be able to help out. And that would be nice. Hello, Sozin, and welcome. In the shorter term, I have several other Metroidvanias queued up, though those are all going to be up on a bit of a wait. Hello, Snow. Because I have something much more exciting. I have access to a PS5, which means I have been able to copy my save files from Elden Ring over to the PlayStation 5 and get the DLC. Thanks for membership. Yo, thank you for chilling here. You're nice. So we will be doing the Elden Ring DLC with the same character that I played with before, starting Monday. And I'm really excited for that. It's not going to be 6-hour streams like it was when I was totally engrossed in the first game. They probably will be 3 to 4. But it's not going to be an impromptu 12-hour stream like happened that one time. But the nice thing is I do actually have, you know, full access to my character and all of its stuff. I was afraid I was going to have to either hack together a character or remake something or, you know, redo 2/3 of the game, which I was not excited to go in that direction. I've heard that there are several items and weapons in just the opening areas that I'm going to flip my lid about, that are going to be, like, just very much my style. I don't know what they are, because my style was already pretty well handled in Elden Ring. The Wakazash thing. You open the stream and I'm giggling. Aww, thank you. So, and hello guy, and hello that guy on YouTube. Hello to both of you wonderful people. So, I think Elden Ring pinned down very much what I want from that kind of game. Good weapon diversity, good weapon options. The Ashes of War were always interesting, even if they weren't good, even if they weren't things that I was going to actively use. Even in that case, I was still overjoyed every time I found one because it was still a new, good, and cool reward. It was still a delight. So, the idea that people are already seeing new items, weapons, and features and being like, oh man, Jade's gonna love this, is so exciting to me because I don't even know what else they could do. My final build ended up being main hand was either rapier or washing pole or nodachi, and offhand either way was the wakizashi, because that's a good slashing weapon for the offhand. They always gave me parry. It gave me parry while I have main hand katana. I could switch to two-hand katana for unsheath, and I could switch to two-hand rapier for lightning bolt, I think it was. So I had just a phenomenally versatile dex moveset that absolute delight, absolutely fantastic. So the idea that like there's gonna be more cool stuff. I hope there's something like the Painter's Guardian's knife. Remember that in Dark Souls 1, the Painter's Guardian knives, where you had a very acrobatic and dancey moveset? I think that would be cool. So, we'll find out. I'm going to love a certain side area of the DLC. I hope it says Poison Swamp. I love Poison Swamps. People accused Miyazaki, the guy who... Was it in all Dark Souls games? Was what in all Dark Souls games? Which one? I don't know. I just said a whole bunch of words. you have to clarify. Painted Guardian. I was in the first one. The Painted Guardian sword is in the first one. It was a small scimitar, a short scimitar, with a very fun moveset. I don't think it was in any of the other ones. They had a scimitar with a similar moveset in Dark Souls 2, but yeah. Popular in Dark Souls 2. Oh, okay. It was in 3? Oh, wow, okay, then I guess it was in all that. Wow. Jeez, okay. So, people interviewed Miyazaki, the guy who was the head designer on Dark Souls, and asked if he was a sadist because of the way that he tortures the players. To which he said, no, absolutely not. I'm a masochist. I like this because this is the kind of game I want to play. This is how I want to be trapped and killed in these games. I did this because I think this is fun. And that... yeah, same. I like to suffer in some ways. In fun ways, you know? In fun ways. Fun suffering. This is getting into, like... Let's change the topic. Based. Have I played Barony? Barony? I need to verify what the... I have not. Oh, roguelike. Yes, I have heard of this. I don't much like roguelites in general. There's very few roguelikes that I enjoy. And... well, I do kind of like that retro aesthetic. Well, I did have Stone Keep and things like that. I like progress, I guess. Does that make sense? I like a crafted world. I like a world where there's coherency and a grand narrative. My favorite roguelite of all time, by far, by any measure, is Hades. Because the roguelite gameplay had advancement, had continuation of plot, had story, had a fantastic story that developed as you died, because you dying was canon. When your deaths in that game were diegetic. It wasn't a, no, let's go back and try to see this again. Like the old Prince of Persia. That line is stuck in my head forever, by the way. And something about a crafted world feels more... how to phrase? Something about a crafted world feels more interesting, you know? Here's an example of why I hate Phasmophobia. Why I hate Phasmophobia. I tried it. I played the game. I tried to genuinely get into it. I was in a collab with other VTubers. I'm pretty sure it's been taken off the channel because of how much fun I was not having. And I tried to do an actual assessment. I was told the idea was that we're trying to explore and figure out a ghost. And I'm like, okay, trying to figure out the nature of a ghost? That sounds really interesting. That sounds fascinating. I'm in. I'm sold. Let's go. So I go into the game with, and I'm looking at things. I'm like, okay, this is actually really interesting and compelling. This is fascinating. There is a beautiful landscape here. The house looks like it was built in like the 1970s, maybe 60s. But inside there are pictures of people in World War II outfits, implying that someone who I'm guessing was a widow of a World War II vet, who we can see in some of the pictures, moved into here because there are pictures of the woman afterwards in more of a 1960s style outfit. Well, all the pictures of the man in the house were of World War II pictures in uniforms. So this was a house for a military man. It's a one-floor cottage. With like, you know, there was like 1,200 square feet or so, with an outdoor large yard, no mountains in range. So it's probably somewhere in the prairies, or you know, somewhere in the Midwest of the U.S., or somewhere in that range. And I was analyzing. I was full deep dive analyzing the game. I was into it. I was like, okay, so let's figure out, you know, what happened, because that's what I thought the game was. I thought the game was analyzing ghosts. That's what I was told it was. Why wouldn't I believe that? That sounds interesting. So I'm trying to deep dive analyze this game, going, ooh, what is this all about? Turns out all you do is throw spaghetti at the wall until you find the right combination of tic-tac-toe on a sheet that gives you the answer for what the ghost is. Turns out it was everything I was looking at that was actually interesting to me. All the parts that I enjoyed, all the parts that was actually fascinating for me to look at, was useless, was just set dressing, was completely randomized, completely useless. I'm sitting there trying to build a profile. If there is a cold spot in the child's room, then why would that spot in the child's room be cold? Because that could imply a disconnect between the child and the adults, which would mean that there's some sort of soul loss or some sort of animosity towards that child. Maybe it was from somebody else, or something who they were not ready to care for. And I'm like deep diving this and psychoanalyzing the layout of this building for genuine interest, for genuine curiosity, only to find out, no, you just lay down a couple of traps until you find the right combination. It's the same house every time. My disappointment was immeasurable, and my day was ruined. I hate Phasmophobia for that reason, because, I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad game. If you like Phasmophobia, fine. Go have fun with it. I ain't gonna, but you can have fun with it. I don't care. But you can see what I was interested in. You can see what drew my attention. You would see the game I wanted to play. I wanted all of that depth to be appreciated. I wanted all of that intrigue and all that curiosity to be respected. I want all of my interesting analysis and ideas to have some form of validation, or some sort, or a reasonable failure, a reasonable explanation of why it was not valid, where it was not true, why it was not correct. And it did none of that. As opposed to Elden Ring, where I can piece together the world and what it means and what's in it and where I'm going and what what the world is designed to be, because the world fundamentally is designed for that type of experience. It encourages you to do that because they really did think through it, because the world has that sort of cohesiveness and completeness. Fallout New Vegas is much the same way. It is a completed world where these little ideas that you have of going, oh, what's over here? What could this mean over here? Are satisfying because the developers thought about it. They thought about what that would mean in the world, about what that would look like, about what sort of secrets and hints you could have. But and just genuine reward for curiosity. And that's the difference between New Vegas and 3. 3, I didn't feel that as much. 4, I didn't feel that as much as I did in New Vegas, as I did in Dark Souls 1, as I did in Dark Souls 2 and 3 and Elden Ring. And you say, Jade, Dark Souls 2, are you serious? Dark Souls 2 was wildly disjointed. You climb up a ladder on the top of a mountain and find yourself in a basement. You climb up a ladder and you can look up and see there's nothing there, but when you climb up, you can look out in every direction into what should have been sky based on where you were a few seconds ago and see endless molten lava. And yeah, you can. Because the plot of Dark Souls 2 is that the world is fracturing and falling apart. That's the point. There's an elevator. Okay, thank you, that's fair. And like the world itself is fracturing and falling apart and starting to make less sense. That's the point. And when they captured the same thing in the DLC for Dark Souls 3, they had to go over the top but that way more people would get it. They went over the top and had sideways buildings and timelines actively falling into each other, whereas Dark Souls 2 was more subtle in that way, was more was more subtle about its world and the crumbling nature of it. Fundamentally, the plotline of Dark Souls 2 is that your existence is meaningless. The biggest problem in Dark Souls 2 is that in the DLC areas, there's a lot of enemies who are lying in wait to ambush you instead of just going about their day ignoring you. You know, you actually seem like they're important, whereas in Elden Ring and Dark Souls 1, you are an invader in this world and you are not accounted for. No one cares that you exist. You are a simple, nuisance who is not being considered. And there's a beauty in that, There's a beauty in that type of design. You think it was an oversight within design? I absolutely disagree. There's multiple places like that in Dark Souls 2 where if you walk through a passageway, you are in an entirely different realm that shouldn't exist in the logic of the world. It happens too often for it to be an oversight, genuinely. One downside of Dark Souls 3 is that it definitely puts you more in the Chosen One narrative, whereas in Dark Souls 1, you see the Chosen One die in the intro scene, right? Like you are not the Chosen One. You are just someone who completes the prophecy, but not because you were the prophesied individual, but rather because you just did the actions. You just went through the motions. And Dark Souls 2 is about nothing. It's about a meaningless nature. If you don't light the fire, somebody else will. If you don't do something, then nobody else will. If you don't go through it, then that's fine. No one cares. And if you do, bravo. No one cares. That's the nature of Dark Souls 2, and that's kind of what makes it harder to work through. The nature of hollowing goes hand in hand with that. Yes, the nature of going hollow, and it is the nature of losing your meaning. That's been true for all the Dark Souls games. Going hollow... Why is there 3 fingers? I have 2... Okay. Going... It really likes to meld those thingies. Yeah, wow, that doesn't... Interesting. Yeah, Lucatiel's a fantastic example, but, like... every Souls game, going hollow means losing your purpose. Which is why some of the people who are the most stable are the merchants. Because they have a purpose. Their purpose is the shop. And there is a merchant where if you buy out their inventory, if you buy everything that they're selling, they will go hollow afterwards because they lost their purpose. Once you destroy the giant fiends in the person who warns you about the giant fiends, the crestfallen soldier, goes hollow. He loses his purpose. Lucatiel is a more direct example where you can see someone fading and actually see them start to fade away, whereas Solaire is much more upfront about it. Solaire actually just going to madness. I would actually argue that Solaire is more about falling to madness than hollowing, because Solaire, you could argue that he goes hollow because he lost his purpose because he completed. He got his sunlight. He didn't have anything else to fight for. He didn't have anything else to go forward towards. He didn't have any more purpose, he went hollow. That's one reading of it. I find it more in the sense of him going mad, of him succumbing to the darkness of the world, rather than him hollowing in the way that other characters do. If you do the last part of this quest in the natural way, as opposed to going out of your way to, save him. Chaos bugs seem to control people. Yeah, exactly. That's more about the madness there. Exactly. Than hollowing. But yeah, Dark Souls 2 has a shattered world, and in which people go hollow because people lose purpose. My Dark Souls tier list. I am. It's difficult, because Dark Souls 1, I feel like, has one of the best connected worlds in gaming. The way Dark Souls 1 is laid out, the way that you never even really need to teleport. It's actually not, teleporting is never really necessary, because everywhere is always, all the backtracks are clean, but also feel correct and natural, like going through Anne Orlando, finding these backtracks. They're just opening doors, but yeah, of course there's going to be a door there. Why wouldn't there be? It feels good and natural to run through the world. It makes sense. Like, you ever play a Metroid game and look at the world and be like, how do these people go to work? Like, you ever look at a Metroid game and being like, let's pretend that this structure actually made sense? How did these people go, just get up and go to the shrine? Did they go into the orb ball and sail across the world every morning as they pick up some Starbucks on the way? Like, it's a beautiful world with an interesting set dressing and fantastic set pieces. But it's nonsensical in terms of being a world to live in. You know what I'm saying? Hollow Knight did a great job in this. 100% agree. So. So I think Dark Souls 1 is phenomenal. Dark Souls 2 weirdly is the one I've played the most. I keep on going back and playing Dark Souls 2 more often than anything else. I can't even rightly explain why, but whenever I feel like I want to play a Souls game, whenever I'm picking up a new Souls game, Dark Souls 2 is the one I go to. Genuinely. Like, if I want to replay something, I find myself wanting to play Dark Souls 2. I don't know why, because for a lot of reasons that it's not the best, but like, it is purely the best in terms of the most I've played with. It might be just the build variety. Though you'd think I would have played through Elden Ring more times then, which I honestly should. I just haven't. Honestly, after I beat Elden Ring DLC, I might go back and play through the whole game again. Dark Souls 3 has the best mechanics, the best gameplay outside of Elden Ring, and is a delight. And it brings the fast-paced, aggressive nature of Bloodborne into the Souls series in a way that fits the Souls series. It doesn't feel incorrect in this Dark Souls world. But it also feels like too much like you're the main character. You know what I mean? Like, again, Dark Souls is not really... pardon me. Again, Dark Souls 3 feels like it's about you. You are, feel like the chosen cinder, as opposed to just this girl who's walking around because, and something about the hopelessness of not being important makes the Dark Souls struggle that much more fulfilling when you show that you are worthy, when you show that you are the one who can stand up and say, no, I did this. Fun comparison. In Final Fantasy XI, you are not important in the beginning quests. You are just another random adventurer who's trying to earn their keep. And the guards treat you as such, like, oh, another adventure. Yeah, there's a dungeon down that way. If you want to clear out the Guardians, go for it, but whatever. King Ranper's tomb, down there, take a left. Once you're inside, you'll want to find the staircase. They don't care about you because you are until you make a name for yourself, which makes it that much more interesting when you do. Because when you do make a name for yourself and the guards are like, Oh, hey, hi, welcome back. We got some new stuff in the inn. There's some new ale in there if you want to try it out together later. Like when the characters actually start respecting you and recognizing you, and it feels more earned than in the beginning of Final Fantasy XIV, where you're immediately like getting the ear of the grand the title of the leader of the port city. You know what I mean, or the Tsarina in the Sandy City, like it that feels more like, oh, you are the main character who we all love. It's like the EverQuest thing where you're all saving the princess because you're so important, and then you have 11, and then you have Dark Souls come along and say like, you're not important. It's willing to trust the player is going to want to see it through to the end to prove themselves, and I like that. And yeah, Morrowind, absolutely. Morrowind is absolutely in the same vein. You fulfill the prophecy because, and you are not the chosen one, right? I believe, spoilers, you are not the chosen one. But you are the one who fulfills the prophecy despite that. Like, yeah, Morrowind is good. As opposed to Skyrim, where you're the Dragonborn! What do you do to become the Dragonborn? I don't know, I guess you were born with some Nord blood in your Argonian bat heritage or something? Look, go talk to the old dudes. They'll give you a lot of respect. And like, yeah, okay, but that's fine for a different story, but that's what made Morrowind more interesting. It's like you proving yourself and actually feeling like you're climbing up and becoming better. And yeah, exactly, in Dark Souls 3, you are the special chosen one, kind of. And I don't know, it doesn't feel as genuine. You hit it how you can't fail in Skyrim? Yeah, pretty much, right? And there's a lot of good things to love about Skyrim, but the more you water the game down, the more, okay, how to phrase this, the more that you don't have to earn your place in the world. The more your place in the world is handed to you, the less interesting I think it is. Shallowness is really the word I'm looking for, but I'm trying to be more specific about it. And like in Fallout, what makes what Fallout New Vegas? What makes your character unique? You got shot in the face and didn't die. The bullet grazed your skull and gave you a fracture on the head instead of ending your life. So the doctor brings you back to life and says, "All right, good luck with that." What makes you special in Dark Souls 2? Nothing. Literally nothing. What makes you special in Dark Souls 1? You're completing, what's his name? No, not, the guy who gives you the flask. Oscar, yeah. Like, you're completing Oscar's quest. You're not doing your own. Oscar says, I'm done for. My quest was to do this. And you're just like, alright, bet. Let me take a bird out there and I'll go ring some bells for you, no worries. Like, you are not the important one and you have to prove yourself. And the act of proving yourself, I think, is part of what makes a storyline more adventurous. You know? Luffy doesn't become the best pirate and isn't already seen as the best pirate in the world. Yeah, he had a devil fruit, but you learn pretty quickly in that show, a lot of people have had devil fruits. That's not that big a deal. Like, it's rare in that world, but he ain't the only one. And like, him earning himself and building his reputation is what makes it compelling. Anyways, if I actually wanted to tier list the Souls games, I'd go Elden Ring first, followed by Bloodborne. Bloodborne is a fantastic game about womanhood. If you don't understand that reference, then you haven't played Bloodborne. The entire game is about maternity. The entire game of Bloodborne is about the visceral concept of being a woman and dealing with it's literally called menses. I mean, come on, like, are you kidding me? Like, it's about womanhood, childbirth, about cycles of the moon, and about blood, like visceral femininity. Yeah, that's the best description. I've heard that too. If that was an article that a friend of a friend wrote, actually. If it's the one that we saw it the same one, which I assume that you're correct. That it's the same one. But yeah, it's grief and loss, and there's several references to miscarriage. Like, fundamentally, I think if I had to pin one thing about what Bloodborne is about, it's the loss. It's postpartum miscarriage loss. It's that's what I would describe it as. That's the fundamental grief that is coming into Bloodborne, and it's powerful, you know. And there is a level of grief that I have because I won't experience that, even the pain associated with that. You know, that's why a lot of people have play Bloodborne and come out as trans. That's the thing, if you didn't know, because it's about femininity and the recognition that even the painful parts of femininity resonate with you has made a lot of people recognize that they are transgender. Likewise, for Fallout New Vegas, in case you were curious on that, Fallout New Vegas is about choice. Because there are so many opportunities for making true choices that actually matter, and nobody's the bad guy. Everybody in Fallout New Vegas, including Caesar, has a reason and has a motive and has thought out why they're doing what they're doing. Some of those might be bad reasons, but they have thought about it. This is explaining the New Vegas to HRT pipeline. It's seeing a world in where everybody is a person. You can even talk to the powder gangers, the bad guys who blow people up with dynamite in the beginning of the game, and see how they were locked up and abused in prison, and how they decided to say, screw it, we found a bunch of explosives in here, we're blowing our way out, this is the only tool hammer we have, and everything looks like a nail now. You know what I'm saying? Like, that sort of idea that everybody is a person and nobody's right and everybody is flawed in some way has brought a lot of people to recognize more depth of their own lives, to look at their own lives in a less black and white way, and to look at the world in a way that says, what is anything? What do I care about? What is me? Not, instead of saying, well, this is good because it's supposed to be good. It pushes you towards a deeper introspection to ask you, can the NCR actually survive on its own? Are they the good guys? Or is the sheer fact that they are underpaying you for doing so much work and not indicative of their incapability of doing it themselves? Are they spread out too thin? Like, even the quote-unquote good guys of the faction are, you know, of the good guy faction, are still dubious, are still abusing their farmers, are still not good in several ways. So that depth, that level of consideration begs for you to be more introspective, to actually think about what the world is and what your place in it is. And that, for many people, can lead people to look at their regular world. That's why it's not uncommon for people who love Fallout New Vegas to turn to be a bit more leftist and say, wait, why do we have to pay for overseas conflicts? Why am I not able to just have a piece of property that I can do what I want to on? Why is it so difficult when I can see how much profit these companies are making and how little I am? That is, you know, like, that sort of introspection is pushed forward and encouraged by the game. So while the game is not inherently leftist and transgendered, it encourages the type of introspection to make people realize these things, both about themselves and the world. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, so that's the New Vegas to HRT, to leftist HRT. And the same is true of Disco Elysium. Disco Elysium does speak ill and favorably of all of the I'll call them faiths, but, you know, economic systems that it discusses. We good? Do we have hands? No, we don't. They're snapped. Can I get, there we go. Disco Elysium speaks reasonably and fairly about all of the different concepts that it has, but in that fairness, it pushes people to recognize the inherent unfairness of several of those systems, including the one that we live through every day. Which is why it's considered to be a hard leftist game, because it doesn't, dismiss leftism as out of hand and say just ignore that, don't worry about it. It's just a farce. It actually gives it a fair shake, and in that fair shake, you can say, oh, yeah. Reality has a left-leaning bias. Is basically the summary. Reality itself has a left-leaning bias, and as games that encourage you to look at the world more critically, you start to have build opinions. At least I certainly do. Anyways, I would put Elden Ring first because I adore it. It is everything I wanted. The open world nature of it makes it so that if you hit a wall, if you hit a stumbling block, you can leave and come back later, something you can't really do in some of the other ones. And I like that. I like the fact that you have an incredibly wide open world that's extraordinarily fleshed out. It's the longest Souls game, and that really does help it. Well, how many times when I was playing it did I say, oh my gosh, there's more map? There's an entire zone in that direction? Pardon. So, yeah, one of the benefits of an open world. So, I would put Elden Ring first, and then I would probably put Bloodborne second. Because Bloodborne fixes all the problems in the old Souls formula in Dark Souls 1 and 2. And that is the game encouraging you to play it wrong. Dark Souls 1 and 2 are properly played with a more aggressive stance, but they teach you to play very defensively, and Bloodborne says, no, play aggressive or get bent, go. And that really helps. And that's something that I feel like 3 didn't quite land, but Elden Ring did. Elden Ring, if you want to play defensive, you can, but the defensive style is also inherently more offensive because of the perfect block option, where you can the perfect riposte option, where if you hold up a shield and you hit at the right time, you can do a good counterattack because of the weapon abilities, because of the customization of Ashes of War. You know me, I love customization. Give me a game that lets me customize things and make me feel like I'm the one customizing it. Love it. If you watch me on the Twitch.television, and I don't recommend you do, if you watch me on the Twitch.television, you've probably seen, you may have heard my conversation with Sprig about how much I love Dota's item shop, because any hero can be built for anything. Sniper can be built as a support, and we actually saw a support sniper in the Dota International Tournament 2 days ago. Someone took the hard carry DPS machine Sniper and said, but what if we put support items on him? You still have the damage boost of Assassinate, you can still harass at long range as a support, and the kit works for being a support character. What if we didn't build him for DPS and instead made him made him chill? What if he was cool? What if he was a support dude? And it worked, because you could buy the support items. You could make that change, and that's something that you can't do in League of Legends or Heroes of the Storm. Heroes of the Storm being the one that we were discussing at the time. Which means that any character in Dota can be played in multiple ways, and I love that. And that's part of what I'm loving about Deadlock as well, is that there's a lot of versatility of play. You can use the characters with different options and different tools and different skills, and I like that. It makes me happy. So, Ashes of War does that phenomenally well. One of the reasons you dislike Overwatch, yeah, there's no advancement in Overwatch. You just have your kit, which is not wrong. It's not bad. It's fine, but it's not as intriguing. It's not as enticing to me, at least to me personally. Your playstyle is forced by your character. Exactly what I'm talking about. Precisely. My biggest complaint about Deadlock is the laning system. Is the fact that it's 4 lanes, 6 characters, so you always have two lanes and 2 solo lanes. 2 duo lanes, 2 solo lanes. League of Legends always has a duo lane, a solo lane, and a jungle, right? It's always hard locked into that. But Dota, you have options. Dota, you can do 2-1-2. You can do 2-1-1 and a jungle. You can do 3-1-1, which is the most common because it can yeah, it's the most commonly used, but it's not the only option. You have options there, and Deadlock, it does not give you those options. You really are only going to ever have a solo lane or a dual lane, and jungle creeps don't spawn until the 6-minute mark, or 7-minute mark, which is actually one of my biggest complaints about it. One of my biggest complaints is the fact that you can't jungle. I think it would be really fun to take, like, Lash or maybe even Wraith into the jungle and be like, you know, I'm just going to go out in there and farm for a while, I'll come back in a bit, and then pop out of the jungle with a couple of items being like, haha, you didn't call me missing because I've been off the map for 6 minutes, and I am here to mash face. I like that idea, and it's just really actively designed against that. Anyways, in terms of the old ones, I would say Dark Souls 3, then Dark Souls 2, then Dark Souls, I guess, you know, I guess if I'm going top to bottom, it would be Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3. 1 being the best because of the world design, 2 being the one I keep on playing, and then 3 being a very good and functional game that I just don't find myself enjoying, and Kingsfield is too old for me to enjoy. I hate to say it, I like old games and retro games, don't like Kingsfield. Just not gonna pick it up. Sorry. That said, Demon's Souls I would slot probably above Dark Souls 3. I haven't played the remake, but the original Demon's Souls was very good, and I feel like the remake would fix a lot of my issues with it. Demon's Souls was a fantastic game, and I loved it, and it had an interesting world, you know? The world was disjointed by going into the different locales, but disjointed in a way that was itself consistent. It was disjointed in a consistent way, as opposed to Dark Souls 2, which is disjointed in a disjointed way, and Dark Souls 3, which is cohesive in a disjointed way, I guess. It has far too many different locales that are trying too hard, I would say. Whereas Dark Souls 2 feels effortless in its ability to make you go, what the heck is this world? Or Dark Souls 1 in its effortless portrayal of lands, or Elden Ring in its ability for you to do the Breath of the Wild thing where you look off in the distance and say, I could travel there, and then actually be able to. You know, that's the dream of a good open world, is show people places and then tell them, hey, do you see that mountain? Do you see that mountain? You can go there. Not that mountain. You can't actually go to that mountain. I'm sorry. The VR chat Comfy Cave world fell through. It was I got scammed. I got scammed and I lost a bunch of money. This was about 9 months ago, 10 months. No, this was last year. And yeah, so Comfy Cave VR didn't come through, tragically. You guys have all seen the Comfy Cave layout specs, right? Has anyone here not seen the Comfy Cave layout specs? Alright, hold on a second. Give me a moment here. Let me just pull it up here. There we go. You've seen the opener. Okay, let me pull up everything for you. This is gonna be really cool for everybody, I promise. Stream tools, and I keep it in branding bits. Cave breakdown. All right. I'm pulling it up now. There we go. Okay, got it. So this is the Comfy Cave. You can have... So right now we are outside the Comfy Cave, in the area just outside the entrance. And hold on, let me lock in a few things here so I can have it's easier for me to move stuff around. Nope, that's the wrong button. Alright, so what is that? Midbar? Okay, so here's the comfy cave itself. Now here's the most important picture. Here's the comfy cave with lines of sight. Okay? What are these lines of sight? Well, we'll come back to this in just a moment. Do you see this here? You know, this set? My original and one of my default chat sets? This is right here. Is this blue camera line. This comes out here. You can see this tree. That's this tree. You can see this coming off here, which is all of this here. You can see the entrance in the distance coming off through the entrance here, and these are here. This is, and this rock outcropping is this big boulder here. This is this part of the comfy cave. You know it. You guys know this world. You just might not realize how it's connected. B here. Right now, if I've been using the one without the carrier turtle, the cargo tortoise. But yeah, that's the front entrance, which you can see is out here at B with the color. This one here, which I use pretty frequently, which I love. You can see the tree over here still, and you can see the falls and the giant mushroom outcroppings, the hot spring, these shallows, and that lead up to the falls. I also I love this ledge here, meaning that it's safe to go in here because the water you'll stop before you hit the falls part. You know, there's a little bit of a no man's wander in here, but this would be more still because of that layout. That's this. You can see these mushrooms. You can see these the tiered waterfalls. 1, 2, 3. You know, this 1, 2, 3 are right there. And you can see the springs and the tree and this far off section. The mushrooms are edible, by the way. They taste very earthy. And you can also see that this tree is coming up from below, which will be important in a moment. Then we have the castle. Hey, look, it's that tree you can see from below. Technically, it should be a little taller, but whatever. You can see the waterfalls more clearly, including this one very clearly. Guess what? That's down here. This is the yellow lines. You can go all the way over here and see these mushrooms, and there they are right there. You can see the castle itself and the walkway leading up to it. There it is. There's the walkway leading up to it, and we can see the end of the cave. The cave is in here. That's my home. And this is out here. Okay? This one I don't use very often, actually. This one I don't use terribly often, but this is the look. This path right here goes down to the left to the castle. If you are here, this is this. This pathway that you can see right here. And yes, I've replaced my Windows cursor with a Baldur's Gate cursor. I recommend everybody do it. It's fantastic. Anyways, and you can see some of the crystal outcroppings in this area here. And that's the most of what you can see, let's be honest. There's not a whole lot more that's visible out in that directions. But you can see this, you know, some of these little shallow pools with, you know, where some above water is seeped in. You can see these crystal caves that lead to who knows where. People have actually written stories about the cave, which I love. Leading to the final one, which is in here, which is inside one of the rooms inside the fort. It's a fort, not a castle properly, which is my home. You can see this piece here is reminiscent of these crystals up here, producing some light. I love the way that the ambient light shines in this room. Large comfy bed with pillows. It's a delight. I like this room. It's fun. So yeah, this is the layout here, which is good, and I like it. And when I first saw a couple of mock-ups of the comfy cave, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, this looks amazing. This, I can work with this, you know? We have this little stream coming in here like that. Yeah, no, this we can work with this. This is gonna be good. This is gonna be great. I mean, it could use a little work. It doesn't have the grandioseness, you know, it doesn't have this beautiful peer into the distance, you know, hollow giant open cavern effect that it's supposed to have, but and this is, you know, kind of really flat. Also, what's going on here? That looks nothing like, you know, this beautiful piece here. That's just sort of a tree instead of, you know, and the lighting is weird, but I can fix the lighting in post. I can fix that. That'll be fine. That'll be... It got worse. Can I open this up in here? So, like, the first mistake was making it outdoors, which, no, this is supposed to be a cave. Why would you make this an outdoors area? It's explicitly the comfy cave. Second of all, that does not look right. Second of all, why are there a bunch of trees here? That's supposed to be, you know, the area, like, okay, they have the cave leading in there, but this is literally explicitly supposed to be, like, this view here, that's over there. This view here is supposed to explicitly be this. It's supposed to be a giant grandiose cave, you know? This ain't it, Chief. And, like, I don't understand how they thought this was appropriate. Like, that's kind of cute, though. Like, I don't hate, you know, this part of walking in through here and in between this rock outcropping to find the little campsite with the hot springs, but, like, this is nothing at all like the comfy cave. What are these trees? What is any of this? Where are the waterfalls? Where is anything? You see what I'm talking about. This is just not it. This is just wrong. And I gave them the same thing I showed you. I showed them the layout, I showed them the camera angles, and I showed them everything here in all of this, and I even showed them several pictures of the connective tissue, saying, you know, like, this here is this part of this of there, you know, like these things, you know, like how these things connect, you know. I did several clarifying points to show how things were supposed to be through, and this is what I got. And, like, if you squint, you can almost see, like, the individual components of what they were trying to do. Like, aside from the fact that the castle is literally knee-high, whereas it's supposed to be a fort, it's supposed to be, you know, it's an enormous cavern, right? It's a giant cavern. Look at those waterfalls. Absolutely, like, this, hon. This right here, this image right here, is supposed to be this. Like, this here is supposed to be those. You see what I'm beyond wrong. Fundamentally wrong. Wrong from a core conceptualization level. Also, this is like 30, you know, like, it's enormous. Like, when I first saw this image, I'm like, okay, this sounds cool. And then, is it salvageable? I mean, not really, no. At a core level, like, this scale is far too wrong in far too many places. Here you can see how weird the scale is. Like, look at how tall this is here. When it's supposed to be it's supposed to be a waterfall, right? It's supposed to be, the waterfall is supposed to be as high as the parapet here. You know, this is supposed to be of a parity of height, or at least, or close to, because of perspective angles. But, like, this is supposed to be, you know, up, and that's just like boop, boop, boop. So it wasn't really salvageable, not meaningfully. And, like, yeah, they put some work into it, and I felt bad, you know, like, asking for 6 billion revisions, because, like, I mean, but it was also clear that they didn't. These are all free assets. They didn't actually make any assets for it, despite the fact that I offered. I have a pretty expensive asset library. I have a very extensive asset library, and I showed them, parts of it, and they're like, no, we will use our own. No, they didn't use their own. They used free assets. I own assets that can be used to make this. I own a lot of good models and textures. And, like, on the revision side, like, again, this looks gorgeous. This is perfect. This looks like the comfy cave right here. Look at that. That's fantastic. I love it. This looks right. Hey, Kobold. This looks good, right? You even have the mountains. You even have this is after the final revision. After I had done some revisions, I've had good luck on Fiverr. I've had bad luck on Fiverr. But then you turn around, and now it's all enclosed. Now, this. Hold on. This right here. I do like the God rays. I do like, there was clearly some effort put into it. But this angle here is supposed to be this. This angle here is not even reflective of the source material. It's just beyond incorrect. It is unrecognizable from the source material that was given clearly. And they made it I think they just heard me say the word cave and tried to force it into a cave structure instead of understanding that it was cavern. That it is a giant open area with a stone roof, with a stone canopy overhead. But they got better at the individual pieces. Like this is almost salvageable. Like, it's not great, but like, at least this kind of, has some of the concepts in it, Except for, all the other parts, like this part here. All right. There. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, no hot spring. The Blake is completely in the wrong place. The iconic tree, which I've even used as like my, the core of my logo, is non-extant. Now, I do like that God Ray effect over there. I do like that. But this is not a thing. This is, again, they had the map. They should have been able to see that, these lines and... Yeah, a sense of scale, I think, is the biggest thing. A sense of scale, I think, is what my biggest complaint, because it's supposed to feel majestic and magnificent. That's what me and Dragon Last Dream were going for when we made it. Now... At a base level, this isn't completely incorrect, right? At a fundamental base level, I could squint and see the castle. Can I ask how much you paid for this? You cannot. I'm not going to disclose that. No offense. I would be willing to talk pricing if you want to, if you were interested in working on this, but I would do so privately. I think that's a fair answer. And I'm not going to name this creator. I'm not going to put them on blast. Just to be clear, I'm not going to do that either. But like you can kind of see this. Like this isn't completely awful until you get up close to it and you realize that there's no waterfalls. Look at that over there. Look at the 1, 2. Those are the waterfalls now. That's them. Also, this goes up to your shins. if this were to be ported into a VR chat world with everything else to scale, the entire parapet wall goes up to your shins. At best. Yeah, the outdoor one is better. So then, to their credit, they put it in the wrong place. The home here is supposed to be inside of this passage here. This passage is supposed to lead to, is supposed to lead to this. They put it here, which, whatever. I would have also accepted if it was like down C or something, but C doesn't even exist down. This is supposed to be a hallway that leads towards living quarters, with my living quarters being in the actual fort itself. But like, I don't hate how they did this little room though. I mean, it's wrong, and what the heck is that bed when it's supposed to be this? Like, it's wrong, but at least it is cozy. So, simply put, I spent too much on this, and they underdelivered for what I got. So was going to be a goal at one point, was going to be that the Comfy Cave was going to have a actual representation. This map right here would have actually been in the, hey Alex! This cave would have actually been, or this map rather, would have actually been in at each of these letter points, and you'd be able to click them. So you'd be able to click any of these letters to teleport to that part of the cave. And there would be one of these on a billboard here, billboard here, billboard here, billboard here. And I think, yeah. And then there would also have been copies of this room down C that were like 4 copies of it that could be individually locked in case someone wants to just go down there and watch some TV or something. Because that's what I use VR chat for mostly, is I will load up a VR chat, pull up one of my screens on my computer, and just watch, like, you know, videos or video essays and just relax in VR chat. So I've seen a lot of other VR chat worlds that have lockable doors for that reason, so that people can just, you know, relax when you want to be in a public world and go outside into a commons area, but you don't want to, like, you know, anybody to disturb you at the moment. Like that, I've seen a lot of VR chat worlds do that, which makes sense to me. Again, you know, go down there, relax for a bit, you know, unwind, use it as a quiet room as well if you want to, you know, for like sensory if you're getting a bit overwhelmed in the world. So I was gonna have some of those down C, and with teleport points available, and that was the dream. And then right around this right here would have been a advertisement. Literally just would have been an advertisement to say, hey, come check out Jade the Kobold on youtube.com and get, you know, use this. If this became a popular VR chat world that people just went to and to hang out, that might drive some people to the channel. That would be it. Like and subscribe and all that, yeah. So that was the original plan, and this still is the plan, honestly, is if I can, you know, get some, either find somebody who's willing to work on it and give them money, or bite the bullet and you know, and have someone, you know, go through a professional house. Like there's a few environmental design houses that I'm familiar with. Hey Raymond, there's a few environmental design houses that am familiar with, or the other option would be to ask, you know, like GD or Sozin, or if either of you want to work on it, again, contact me and we can talk pricing. I would give a reasonable, a reasonable wage for fair work. But yeah, that's the Comfy Cave world. Like, that's actually the coherent world. You can go down this pathway here to go to the depths of the cave that nobody really knows what's down there. You can go down C to find some hallways to leave into some to leave into some living quarters. B would just honestly, B would be invisible walled right here. It would be invisible walled here, but you could see the vista outside. And then you'd be able to go walk. There would be no telepoint over here, but you'd be able to walk all the way over to here to explore what is this area here, this ridge area. So you'd be able to walk over and check that out. There would obviously be a secret underneath the waterfall. I mean, that goes without saying, right? Like, everybody knows that if you walk down here and take this little path across this beach, there would be a secret under the waterfall. Duh. I mean, we're not breaking any new ground with that, but, you know, if there wasn't something there, I'd be disappointed. So anyway, those are the lines of sight for the castle. And those are all the artworks that are all stunningly beautiful. And I just really like the idea of being able to, like, walk around here, you know? But the sense of scale would be very important. It would have to feel grandiose. And that's the biggest thing that they failed at on the commission work. Oh, by the way, if anybody wants to see it too, here's where the Comfy Cave is. The Comfy Cave is right in this nook here. Just if you have to go west from Tiffle. So the Candlelight Port is called the Candlelight Port because there's so many tall trees that there's no big lighthouses, because the lighthouse would be obscured by the trees. And so there's many bonfires along the coast to show ships where is safe to traverse and where is not. And because these series of, like, you know, like 10 or so bonfires that are across the coast here kind of look like tea candles from far away when you're on a ship, when you're looking through glasses. So this became known as the Candlelight Port. No one knows what it actually was called before then. It was just called Candlelight by the ships, and because it's primarily a shipping port to get into Keston, this was called the Candlelight. It was just called, you know, it was eventually became called the Candlelight Port, and then just Candlelight was the town. So this is the Candlelight Port. The thing is, this area here has too many shallows and unpredictable reef areas in here, so that this is non-traversable, and this bars any traversal to go around it, and the mountain range is too dense over this side, leading to some, you know, pretty steep cliffs. So the only way for trade to come in through Keston is to go across the King's Road up onto the north area. There's no kings anymore. Those have been gone for several hundreds of years, but the name of calling it the King's Road is still there, even though we have no idea what the Candlelight Port's town originally was. Now it's just called Candlelight. So is Canon Jade also Fae? Yeah, Fae Kobold. Mm-hmm. So the distance between Keston and Candlelight is 2 days travel. 1 day travel will put you into Tiffle. So this here to here is 1 day travel. Because of the density and because it's a lot more hilly and it's in the foothills of these mountains, this is a lot harder to travel. So this takes a full day travel to go this far, and it takes a full day travel to go here, where you start to go a little bit further to the east into the plains, you know, into these prairie areas. So this is Tiffle was originally just a stopping point that was commonly used for the first night. So you'd go from Candlelight and travel for a day, and then end your day in Tiffle. And then eventually that sprung up and became an actual town, because people passing through there realized, hey, there's a lot enough trade passing through here that this is a really good stopping point. I'm going to put up an inn. Well, I'm going to put up a full tavern inn. Well, if there's a tavern inn and an inn here, you know, people might need a place to make sure that the cargo tortoise has feed and supplies and all that stuff. Sounds like there's overpriced snacks. I mean, kinda. So you ended up having more and more buildings until it became a proper little township. So the Candlelight Port in the city here, they have Tiffle, which is a cute little town, and you can follow across down here on the road to Keston. it's spelled Keystown, but it's pronounced Keston because semantic drift is a very real thing that more world building needs to actually account for. That's absolutely how if this place was established 300 years ago and it was in England, yeah, it would be called Keston by now because that's just how language works over time, right? Language semantic drift is real and should be accounted for by more people. So Keston is here, and Keston is on a giant ring road along a giant mountain. I actually have a SketchUp of the surrounding area if I can find it. It's not in... There it is. So, the rest isn't finished, but this archipelago keeps on going until around here or so. There's another city here, there's another city here, there's a city here, and then this is a very large city. This is would have been a capital in a time where capitals were still a form of politic that leads off into other directions, but this ring road around this enormous spike mountain is a common caravan path. Here's El. So there's a township here, here, large city here. Keston is the second largest city on the ring road, and most of this people here, like there's other ports that are down in this area, but most of the pardon, most of the supplies that come from the farther west would come in through Candlelight up to Keston and then go across the rings. So that's that's the surrounding area. The Comfy Cave itself is in this valley. So this is actually like 2 or 3 days travel, because you will have to stop multiple times. Again, this is a day's travel on a well handled road through hills. This is a day's travel through on a prairie road. This is 2, maybe 3 days travel through a fairly dense woods. It's not very common to get out here. So that's what, about a 12-day journey around the King's Road, give or take. Hey, Canthier. So yeah, I would say somewhere in that range. It's probably be a week or 2. I would say maybe even I could even round out to a fortnight. But these are all very well hollowed roads, and only this area it really gets into more foothills. So like these are more prairie. So. But this is a pretty rough path. There's no actual roads here, so you'll probably need to spend the night in the woods multiple times before you can get to the Comfy Cave and find this sort of space here where you can see over here is the this mountain would be this one right here, and it's nestled into roughly this mountain, which is surprisingly hollowed out. Like, I mean, surprisingly just because, it is a enormous cavern again. So, yeah. And because the only people who go to the Comfy Cave are people who know about its existence, it's not very well traveled. Not a lot of people know about it. Not a lot of people have, have gotten there. So it is nice and secluded. You can get... a tracker or somebody who's used to the area like me could probably get to Tiffle in about a day, but somebody who's actually traveling under load or with cargo, it'll take a little while. You'll have to spend at least 2 days if you know the path, probably three maybe more if you haven't made the trek at least once. And then once you are in the Comfy Cave, coming in through this sort of area, you can walk down in here, and then you have this giant structure inside. Is Comfy Cave secret? I mean, yes and no. I mean, like, canonically, obviously, I've been to Tiffle many times, and people know that I live out here, but... It's not like it's a secret to everybody. It's not like, no one is aware of it, but, like, no one really knows. No one, no one... There's no active commerce here. There isn't, like, any reason for most people to go this way. Is it a secret? No. But people just don't have a reason to come this way. So it's more me, me or people who live in the comfy cave going out, and then others coming in. Where's the treasure? Behind this waterfall. Follow the beach path. So coming down here, going around this rock outcropping and following that beach into here is where it would be. Well, there are jades in the cave, true though. The other thing is that, like, I mean, obviously I built these, I assembled these structures into here for shelving. And this is, a nice little communal area. Also, this down this path here, which is just a cave entrance, are several hollowed out areas that can be used for homes. Like if you go down a little bit, there's actually some area where it's fairly moldable that you can scrape through. Hello, Vaporeon. So this area has some of my knickknacks on it, and this tree is amazing. It's beautiful. You can't actually touch the crystals. Like, no matter how close you get, if you reach your hand out, it will always be just out of reach. You can't actually get into... you can't actually grab hold of the crystals. They're clearly magical, but they don't do anything that is discernible. This little stream that comes in feeds into... Yeah, that stream comes on the other side of this boulder here, this little rock outcropping, which is this rock outcropping, and feeds into the lake, as do the waterfall here, but the lake is also fed by this. This lake is comfortable, but this hot spring also feeds into it. So this is a natural upwell of a hot spring, and that feeds into the underground lake. As I said before, the mushrooms are edible, and there is actually intended to be another large mushroom lake right here or so, that's more accessible. They need to be cooked. They don't have a great... They just taste kind of like shiitake on their own, but, like, they can be cooked. The waterfall, again, these are fairly still waters here. The water will cascade over here and before going over the waterfall. So unless you're going far out to the far fall, which is a bit deeper as well, then you can be in this area very safely, since the water doesn't get, like, really fast and downwards propelled until you start getting around here. There's actually a place like that at Niagara Falls where you can actually come in there. Can you give me a song to listen to from a video game? Absolutely, but I don't want to risk DMCA on this stream. So I will absolutely listen to it, but I'm not going to listen to it live just because I don't know how its DMCA status. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I would absolutely listen to it. So. This little comfy gathering area is also the cooking fire. Though, of course, there are some areas, where you can cook inside as well. Though the areas down the sea caverns are not advised for cooking. Again, my room is inside here, is inside the fort if you go down this tunnel here. So this oven here actually pipes up right about here. It actually just pipes up out of this area, so it's safe to cook inside there. It's not safe to cook inside of some of the other rooms, though, because the ones down C are more just more den-style rooms. They're just kind of carved into rock. And anybody who wants to claim a part of the rock structures to live in, you have entirely my blessing to say that you are a part of this world. And Guy asked the most important question, and the answer is no one knows. Nobody actually knows what this fort was for, and I am the oldest person in the cave at 125 years old, and I found it in more or less the same condition that it is now. And I don't know. It was clearly meant to guard. It's not a castle, it's a fort, And this, from here, you can roughly see... From here, you can roughly see, if not the entrance, you can see the top of the falls, So you can scout out up there, but also you can scout out further in this area where these deeper caverns, which have never been explored, Some people have said that this was a long time ago. This was here to hold back something that was deeper in the caverns. But I don't know. I mean... That makes sense just because of how it's positioned, but I don't know what would be in the caverns that would be scary. Again, most of the caverns down here are unmapped. I don't know what's down there. And a lot of them have water flowing through that will eventually just go underground. They're not safe to travel through. But who knows? There might be something back there. Need to hold back me. Oh no! Huh? Do I have hams? I have hams. Cool. So... some angry crystal Balrog. That's entirely possible. Canonically, there has been a robot found down there, like a Laputa-style ancient robot, you know. But like, that's an old canon that I could rewrite if it doesn't sound as interesting. It would be like steampunk, you know, mechanical sort of. You know, Laputa Cast in the Sky. Let me pull up some of them robots. Here we go. Yeah, these kind of, you know, it was like this kind of ancient robot sort of feel. I can probably find a better picture of. I always love the look of the ancient robot that has been left to waste. You know, it's just a cool aesthetic. You have a mini of something like that? Nice. I have a mini of one of the Squirrel Fox actually. Actually, I did my entire Convergence of Cirrus army for War Machine, for War Machine, in this style. It was gorgeous. I broke off legs, took some computer Molex connectors, frayed out the ends, you know, so there was just a bunch of wires spewing out of the end of the cable, embedding it inside with the leg by drilling out the leg cavity and putting the leg in there so you can see the things that are coming out. One of them I have, you know, crawling with a leg that's clearly broken at a bad angle that's being dragged behind it. I went more Fritz Lang with a couple of them. We're going a bit more of the Metropolis, but while keeping the Laputa aesthetic of being brown and you know, brass and steel actually go really well together for a color scheme. So it was brass, steel, light tan, and dark earth brown. So it was earth tones with brasses and steels as well. I was really happy with it. So this kind of thing exists in the Comfy Cave world. But someone was found somewhere down there. But I just live a comfy life in here. I mean, I take out the boat to go fishing in, you know, in some of the back caverns, which are, you know, safer, because the lake just goes underground, so you just kind of bonk into a wall and you can just, you know, row out if you find it, if you find the edge of it. But I never really explored too deep because why would I? I didn't need to. So down some of these pathways, there might be weird stuff. That might be what the fort was made for. Or not. Oh. Reminds me of the Forest King in Automata. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I designed this long before I had seen Nier Automata, but you are absolutely correct in that being an apt comparison. This is the Forest King. Yeah, that's a really good comparison point, actually. Sadly, I am not as hot as 2B, but, you know, such as it is. So, this kind of thing exists in this world. And yes, I do remember you. I appreciate you showing up. Spoopy. I don't know. I think it's more beautiful. I think I would say tragic rather than spooky, personally. It's more of a sadness of something that was lost to me than being something that's scary to me. That's kind of what it's supposed to be for Laputa as well. This is a groundskeeper that is designed to keep on maintaining a land that has been forgotten by those who created it. That's That's the thing, is supposed to be. Another comparison point, honestly, for that type of creature rather than for the cave, would be Ruan. Let me pull up. What's this? No, this is the comfy cave. One second here. Where's the sky robots? Ah, there's Despot. Oh, that'll work. Final Fantasy XI also has this sort of robot, which is also explicitly the same thing. Caretakers of an ancient civilization. That has been left to crumble. Not a lot of good pictures of those things. Oh well. But this idea is something that I like. So those are stats, something that's in there. I don't know what it's about. They wouldn't have forgotten if they didn't all die or forsake technology. I mean, I guess. I can imagine myself visiting the cave and figuring out the history of the fort. So when my original plan, actually, you know, I'm going to tell you my original plan in just a second. I will be back in just a moment as soon as I hit the button. Yay, the button worked, kind of. I'll call that working. One sec, I'll be back. Honestly, I might just edit this stream down to just the comfy cave part and leave it as a lore post about that, and see, because I know basically I was doing channel update stuff at the beginning. Oh, by the way, the music you're listening to right now is the comfy cave theme. Is the theme of Jade's comfy cave. Like that's actually the composition. This was made for the comfy cave by Anthony Baden-Saggers, who also did the music for a Clutch, a Kobold story, fun fact. So, this music you've been listening to the whole time is actually I actually have full rights to. It is composed for me, and I worked with the author for making it, and they did a phenomenal job. And put up with so much when I asked for revisions. The other thing about the comfy cave region is that, yeah, there's multiple housing areas down here. There's multiple pathways through the crystals, both down this way and down this way. And yeah, there is a path behind this waterfall. What was the other thing I was going to say? I was going to say something else that was interesting and dynamic and important and cool that everybody would want to hear, and I forgot what it was. Hack! Oh, right. So. Originally the plan was, when I released this model here, I was going to have the comfy cave made around the same time. The 3D version of it. Again, the 3D version that didn't actually end up happening. And the goal, my hope, my dream, my goal, was going to be to have was going to be to record a scene in probably in Unity, because I would want to make this into a VR chat world, which requires it to be in Unity. Would be to record a scene of someone crunching through snow on a mountain path, you know, and then fall, and then land in the comfy cave, first-person perspective, you know, and have them land somewhere around here. and then have my character, my actual model, go up and recorded in the VR chat. Again, this would be in VR chat recording. Go up and be like, "Are you okay?" And actually have an introduction where someone gets isekai'd into the comfy cave. More like exploring, the mountainous region around it. More like exploring the mountains and falling into it. But that sort of idea of, welcome, and then showing them around the comfy cave. That was going to be the idea. That was going to be about a year ago. And that was going to be an entire project. I had plans for it. I had designs. I had goals, hopes, and dreams, and it never happened. And I haven't mentioned it simply because I keep on hoping that I'll find someone who would work on it, but I haven't looked lately because I was sad at how this one turned out. At least I don't even know what happened with this picture, because this picture at least shows scale with the giant waterfalls, but in the end, this scene was never in any of the production versions that I got, so I don't even know what happened with the image that's actually the closest to the cave, even if it does fail at capturing the scale. So I don't even know what that was about. How? It's very pretty. Well, thank you very much. Dragon Last Dream, you can find her on Instagram. She did all of the 2D artwork. She's a delight. Working with her was fantastic. English is not her first language, but she was really good to work with. And yeah, all of these up to here. This was drawn by Sapphire. Sapphire Dixon took... I had a sketch out sort of like this that Safi was able to take and turn into something beautiful. This just is gorgeous. I like how this turned out, and it was just very well handled. And then this would be the extended map of the region if it ever decides to, if we ever decide to get around to making it. But the lore is important, though. The lore of the Candlelight Port, the day's journey to Tiffle, the day's journey to Keston, the path to the comfy cave being something that people can see that there's a valley over there, but people don't really go in there, other than maybe into the foothill areas to hunt. That's good and cool and fun. Safi's art is always so delightful to see. It really is. Even with something as simple as just a map with a compass rose. There's a little township here. Again, a day's travel. Actually, that would be less than a day's travel. Well, again, probably travel to half day's travel to the evening, so you can rest there. Maybe it was a day's travel before the proper King's Road was established. Also, for the record, I can tell you some more about the lore. Do you guys want to hear more lore about the Comfy Cave world? Yeah. Lore! Okay. So, this next part of the lore, I'm going to be reading directly from another book. Because, well, the rest of the lore takes place is part of that lore. Give me a second to find it. This won't pop up on screen for anything, right? Cool. I'm really glad that didn't pop up because it's literally my resumes, and that would dox me harder than anything. Someone angered a skunk. For those of you that don't know, I do live in the middle of nowhere. I do live on a mountain in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, well, in the middle of nowhere, and yeah, apparently there's a skunk out there, and something made it angry. I know Terra's inside, so it ain't her. Where is the land? Okay, so Monster Killer Squad is a tabletop RPG that came out a couple years ago. I kickstarted it, and I love it. If there's one world I want to run a game in, it's probably after the New World campaign. It would be the Monster Killer Squad world. The general idea of the tabletop game I'm not going to get into too deeply here. Long story short, there are giant monsters that roam the world that are beneficial, like a giant condor that brings the rains to the land, or a whale that cleanses the ocean around the port. Stuff like that. It's very Spirit Island in that regard. You know, these are positive forces upon the world that are also physically large monsters. And the idea of Monster Killer Squad is that you are a doctor. Not necessarily a medical doctor. You might be a doctor of combat to be able to restrain and subdue a creature that needs to be, given medications. You might be a doctor of linguistics to be able to talk to people in different regions. You might be a botanist, or you might be the medical doctor. Your goal in this game is to find these monsters, find out what's wrong with them, heal them. It's beautiful. It's a cool game. 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. Yeah, combat medic is totally valid there. So. The world, though, has some ideas that I am just straight up copying and harvesting, specifically the societal ones. And if you saw the last Tanzi video, and I assume that you have, because that was a good video that did well, if you saw the whoops, we broke the world Tanzi video, this will make a little bit more sense. Let me make sure I'm on the right page. This is in this book. This is the section on the people. The last known king of Aldalmura, which is the region that Monster Killer Squad takes place in. The last known king of Aldalmura died over 1,000 years ago in the last war. Since then, people have moved past the need for hierarchy as we know it. There are no presidents, emperors, kings, or queens. There are no dictators, oligarchs, no premiers or czars. The very idea that one would structure the society in that way seems delightfully archaic to the Aldalmuran people. In the same way that we look back at the feudal era with a sort of whimsy. At best, the idea of a supreme leader is good for stories, and at worst, it's a violation of freedom as we know it. After a relatively brief transitory period that led by vanguards of workers around the world, the people settled into dozens of systems of collective rule, the finer details of which are the subject of entire fields of study. The general model in most cities and communities is one where democratically elected representatives of the various sub-communities meet and govern by council. Larger edicts are voted upon, and when issues extend across different communities, the councils are formed to discuss and find solutions to problems at hand. These leagues are called confederations, unions, or simply leagues. Don't make the mistake of assuming that confederations are entirely geographical, though. Thanks to travel, mail, and long-distance communication, magic, and other technologies, the communities can stretch across the entire continent, such as the Monster Killer teams, or such as Weavers Guilds and things of that nature. Similarly, a citizen does not consider themselves to be a citizen at all. Not at least certainly not of a specific place. They are rather part of one or more confederations. A person living in the grand city of Tanadas Mal may be a member of the city's confederation, or a weaver's confederation, or a member of a local community garden, and maybe all at the same time, with each of these quote-unquote citizenships carrying the responsibility and history that you might be experiencing from a national identity. Since the abolition of currency and the restructuring of society, trade looks different in this world than in our own. Food, housing, medicine, clothing, and other necessities are given freely to everybody. Every village maintains a large community stockpile of things for when they're needed. Regions that have an overabundance of a given resource, such as fish, gold, or rubber, export their extra materials, either directly to regions that suffer a lack of those resources, or to nearest planning confederations for distribution. These confederations, of which there are hundreds, maintain a massive distributed trade network that stretches across the entire continent to make sure that nobody goes without want, at least not for long. And people still work if they like. They're motivated by a personal drive, or a passion, or a desire to build a better world for their community rather than by profit. Such communities have a work token system, where workers are able to trade hours in exchange for luxuries, or other services from other laborers. But for most confederations, the work itself is reward enough. People who've been following the New World campaign may recognize that from the Gripply. Under the Confederation system, even the most resource-poor villages in Elmura are prosperous. With resources centralized and plentiful, the individual cultures of the smallest villages and the largest mountain cities are alive with individual traditions, fashions, delicacies, and songs. The average person lives richer than the old kings could have ever dreamed. Prior to the end of the kings, the reactionary elements of society argue that these ideas would come with a loss of identity, that the self would be forced to give away to the collective, and in reality, the opposite came to be. With the wealth of kings redistributed and the pressure of survival work gone, suddenly people had time to pursue their passions. When you only have to work a couple of hours a day, there's plenty of time for self-expression, to learn an instrument, to make unique clothing, to paint, to draw, to sing, to build a library or a collection of weird shells, or simply to live authentically as yourself. In a society where all of one's needs are met, and with a deep focus on community and solidarity, crime is actually quite rare. The idea of policing would be honestly alien to anyone in this world, as would anything like a town guard or a dungeon. In their place are community defenses, which mostly work to mitigate damage from natural disasters and to mediate issues between communities. De-escalation, restitution for victims, and rehabilitations of the perpetrator are universally the focus of any crime policy across the land. No shame or stigma is associated with crime. It's treated as a societal failure rather than an individual one. The failure of the society to drive a person to that, rather than the individual's fault for doing it. In the rarest cases, if a perpetrator is unrepentant or if the crime itself is particularly egregious, a community may vote on the right path to keep its members safe. Their votes are never taken lightly and are considered a great tragedy, regardless of their outcome. The fact that it was moved to that extreme is considered a tragedy. Culture all across the continent places an enormous priority on natural beauty and living in harmony with the world around them. This sometimes clashes with the basic needs of larger societies, but issue is always given enormous weight when in discussions and debates on how to proceed with some subject or another. Obviously, there are the occasional disputes and disagreements about how one idea or proposal may affect the world, but the proposition that most people begin with is wanting to do the least harm possible, and to ensure a comfy and happy life for everybody, nature included. Simply put, people do not see themselves as being apart from nature. They see themselves as a part of the landscape itself, and their relationships exist in the same flow of the wind, the sea, the birds, or the bugs. Almost every person knows the basics of biology, farming, animal husbandry, survivalism in the same way that most people in our world know how to read and count to 10. They're considered basic life skills to be taught at a young age by families and community schools. This lifelong relationship with nature leads to a very different attitude towards the natural resources that we have. In practical terms, sustainable farming practices, community gardens, and local small-scale farms. Meat is still consumed, but on a smaller scale than you might expect, mostly as a treat or as a larger meal during parties and celebrations, and respect is given to the animals that are slaughtered, with much of the work put into ensuring that they live a comfortable grass-fed life. Hunting is practiced, but again, as a part of a larger relationship with the land. And above all, waste is considered a failure of the community. This extends beyond food and into building materials, coal, ore, and so on. Whenever possible, every ounce of mined or farmed or hunted resource would be to be used to their fullest. Researchers and scientists are constantly experimenting and to find new and cleaner ways to use what we have. Where certain resources are unavailable, the first thing communities tend to do is find a way to solve the problem they face without it. A real-life analogy would be instead of building wasteful air conditioning units, people would build into their homes in such a way that use the natural airflow, or build underground, or avoid building communities in habitats that are unfriendly to the basic needs and desires in their first place. This has the effect of making every community unique, as each community has different challenges and that they face while building their homes in unique ways. People consider this approach to the world to be a responsibility that everybody must carry, and they're always seeking for new ways to survive without harming the world or the other people that they live with. That's the world of the Comfy Cave as well. That is the world of Aldalmura for Monster Care Squad. That is the world of the Comfy Cave. Amazing, but no dungeons to delve? Absolutely wrong. There are many dungeons of the in the world of old wealth. of old treasures. I lost a surprising number of viewers during that description. Hey, you know what? Whatever. Get bent, those guys, hey? Oh no, communism! There are several dungeons, but those are dungeons from the old world and the old lands. So they do have creatures and monsters and treasures, but the approach towards treasure is not I can finally live comfortably because I found treasure. It's this is a treasure that I can bring back for fame and wealth of my community. And that said, there are certainly monsters. Monsters are a part of the world as well. Not all the creatures of the land are kind, though all of the large monsters are. All of the great large monsters are more like the Nature's Island spirits where they protect the land, but that isn't to say that there aren't, you know, the occasional griffin or manticore that needs to be taken down in a way to protect the people that are living there, you know, in a way that to... pardon. In a way to protect those who are in the land. Interestingly enough, Monster Hunter is part of the inspiration for this, because Monster Hunter, the games, have a surprisingly eco-friendly side if you look at the actual quest text instead of the gameplay. You are, in the older Monster Hunters, explicitly trying to take care of the larger monsters that are endangering the region. Not because people don't like them, but because they are a threat. A Rathian can be a Rathian if it wants to, but a Rathian that's attacking trade routes needs to be killed. That's how Monster Hunter was originally designed. And by and large, is also as well. It's you have to contact the central guild in Monster Hunter to get verification and validation for any hunt that you go on, and that's what your handler does. Your handler makes sure that the guild is okay. Wait, my hands went away. Butts. Hey! Hey, I have hands. So in Monster Hunter, the world is surprisingly eco-friendly. And the funny thing about Rise, Monster Hunter Rise, is they're like, we don't know why the monsters are rampaging and being very aggressive, but if you actually read the quests in Rise are petty. This monster scared me. Can you go kill it? This monster, is in between me and my favorite place to go look at the waterfalls. Can you get it out of the way? The quests in Monster Hunter Rise are petty and would not pass guild's qualifications, and that's, I believe, the lore of why the rampages in Monster Hunter Rise are happening. The guild is being mismanaged, and the guild is not in harmony with nature. That's just a theory, but that's just a theory. A gay theory, sorry. But that is, I believe, very, very well sustained by the text, especially when you compare the quest text with that of other Monster Hunter games. Anyways, that is that's the stuff from Aldal Mura. That's the Monster Care Squad lore. That right there is beautiful, and that's what I have adopted into the Comfy Cave world as well. So there is, you know, there is trade, there is work token money, which again is different, you know, than fiat currency. There is a functioning society where people try to uplift and protect each other, and that doesn't mean there's no struggle. That doesn't mean there's not, you know, dangers or a world without. I still remember in the New World campaign, which you can see the entire playlist on the channel. It's a delightful playlist. In the New World campaign, I still remember about, like, gosh, it had to be like 5 or 6 sessions in, so like 20 plus hours of gameplay. Going across this new continent and being like, and then all of a sudden the players were talking about buying some stuff, and they were like, wait a minute, we don't have any money. And that was the first time the players realized that none of the cultures in that continent used any currencies. There was no coin at all in that world. I have never had the players look at a single gold piece as a reward, or as a consequence, or as a necessity. And each city in the New World campaign has a completely different monetary system, economic system as well. So, ranging from the bad ones, like the goblins using slave labor, all the way to the Gripply, who have the exact same work token system that I described here, all the way to the Kenku, who raise undead for all of their labor, so have an infinite amount of free labor, all the way to the outpost that they live in, the outpost of Lonfell, where they have built up. Pardon me. All the way to the outpost of Lonfell, where they are giving people what they need based on a quartermaster system brought from the old world. Though I still remember that moment where the players realized that none of the places used currency, and were like, "Oh," because it's so core to our day-to-day lives, you know. But if you think at the end of the day, money is made up. Oh no, Jade, the concept of trade is I know, but fundamentally, there's a scene in Freeven where Freeven and this is not a spoiler, where Freeven and her crew get caught up in the middle of a blizzard. And the mayor of the town says, "Hey, no one's staying in that house, in this house on the edge of town. You can stay here for the winter if you want." They had a home that was built, and they were allowed to stay there because nobody else was using it. They weren't fleeced for money. They weren't told to tough it out. They were not turned away and left to die in the blizzard. It was just quite literally, we have a resource, go ahead and take it. We have enough resources, go for it. I mean, this could very quickly become another Tanzi episode if I could start talking about this in a further detail, but I'm sure all of you would love that, to be honest, though. But yeah, that sort of world where people just are assisted because the resources are plentiful is one that we have. I mean, come on, we unironically produce enough food for every single man, woman, and child in this world to be able to eat, sleep, and live comfortably. We could have that. Anyways, let me just get off that topic before I start to cry. So in my room, you see we have a book. I don't know if I ever decided what this book is, honestly. You can just see here, yeah. Little stove, little washing basin over here with a spout fountain with a spout tap here, which presumably requires a pump to run. There's a second, specifically a cooking fire here. This is more of a heating fire, whereas this is more of a cooking fire, which is, I'm just gonna say that the smoking, the ceiling leads the smoke out of here because it doesn't really have a hood. So this would be more of, let's say, smaller scale thing than here, where this is gonna be a lot smokier. Three people ended up fighting this gold mine. I don't know if I saw that one, but I did like the old Twilight Zone. I like the design style of the old Twilight Zone episodes, because the design idea of the old Twilight Zone episodes was less about the individual characters and more about the situation, and begged the question of what would you do in this situation. And I like that style of storytelling. It was very, very different from what we see nowadays. And honestly, you know what else had a similar storytelling style, where the focus is more about what a weird situation this is, instead of telling a regular TV story. The first season of Star Trek. That's why I prefer the first season of Star Trek over anything that came after. Although I do like Deep Space Nine, I still think the original Star Trek is my favorite because it's a completely different storytelling style. it's not the it is not even the adventures of Captain Kirk. It's more, here's the spaceship that finds a bunch of weird stuff. Isn't that interesting? Instead of, how are they going to get out of this one? Or, you know, what's the long-term repercussions for Worf or whatever? Like, the original Star Trek had more of a playful, episodic look at this world and pick and imagine yourself in it vibe, instead of watch these characters vibe. I don't know if I can explain it better than that. I hope that you understand what I'm saying. I hope that you're getting, like, what I'm putting down here, because it's a very specific feeling that it's hard to put into words. You know what I mean? Third season of Star Trek. The Orville? I'm not familiar. But I like that original storytelling style, and it's just genuinely a style that has gone away. Anyways, the crystal provides light, some simple mirrors. Don't worry about the reflection in the mirror. I never did. And yeah, other than that, it's just a fairly simple place, you know? Library, book. Oh yeah, there's actually a consideration of, there is actually a consideration of the rest of this room. There. This is the this is the area behind, so you can see the stove, the cooking pot, this here, just some shelving. Up here, you can is the same thing. You can see it in this corner here, but you can also see off camera. Wait, where's the rest of the off camera? Wait, that's not the one I was looking for. There was more of a. I thought I had another off-camera here that showed a bunch of old barrels and stuff. I don't know if I can find that. Where is that? Yeah, this is just the view of what's in the room. I thought I had another one. Give me a second to take a quick glance around. By the way, I did an ARG at one point. It was a very minor one. But before several of these were released, I added it to my Ko-fi page, a space we could pay to download the backgrounds. And I included backgrounds that were not yet shown to the public, because this was actually the way I introduced it, was it includes all the backgrounds. And I included the backgrounds that didn't actually exist, that nobody had seen yet, which I was actually quite proud of. I thought that was cute. Not a lot of people cared. But I cared, okay? I cared. Oh yeah, the background gimmick. The way I first introduced the background, like the first background, this one, because before I used the background, before I used any backgrounds for this, I used just my model over blank, right? I just used my model with nothing behind it. You know, and then I had, one day I made this, and started streaming with this. And then I said, "Oh, sorry. Looks like my green screen is broken. Hold on, let me take it down." And then I revealed the background for the first time. That was how I did it. Was I played it off as though my character, not being just in front of video games and in front of, you know, the generic backgrounds, was actually just a play. Was actually just, you know, me being behind a green screen. Oh, actually, and then the green screen broke. And I revealed the actual comfy cave for the first time. That was a long time ago. I've been doing this for a hot minute. I hope I keep getting better. That'd be nice. The dream. To keep on improving as a person and to make your content grow with you. Ah, the dream. What else can I show you guys? Here. Have the Unfocused Thoughts logo. I guess, oh yeah, my stat sheet. I've talked about this a few times. This is my official stat sheet. Race Kobold. Sex not applicable. Class NPC. I have always been canonically an NPC. That was kind of my original thing, was that I am an NPC tuber. Chaotic good. These all track, right? Strength 40, Vitality 30, Agility 70, Intelligence 80, Perception 3, Luck 100. And sometimes the variable overflows into into a negative is here. So sometimes luck is 0. Yeah, I love the armor class, -7 over 0, because it's nonsense. It doesn't make any sense. There's no system where this armor class makes any sense. Like, you can't even tell if it's good or bad. It's not even like a Thaco where you can sort of be like, okay? It's like having a fighter whose strength in D&D first edition is like 18 over 99, or 18/99 or something. It's like, what does that mean? Don't worry about it. So like -7 over 0, is that good? Is that bad? Oh. And yes, it's always been canon that I do not have any inherent magic, because I have magic in the real world. I don't need to have magic as a VTuber as well. Like, it would just be kind of much, you know? Like, it just feels unnecessary. Want to see the original Comfy Cave layout, though? The original Comfy Cave layout before this revision was this. This was the original Comfy Cave layout that I made alongside with Dragon Last Dream. This is how I commission artwork. This is how I do it. Is I create a mock-up like this, and then I use the visual inspiration pieces in it with arrows and pointings and things like that. This was here, and this was when I commissioned the second one. So for all of this area here. This is what I gave to Dragon Last Dream to get this. This came from this. And you can see, there we go, that one. And you can see how we got from point A to point B, right? Like, it makes sense. That's how I commission artists. That's the kind of references that I give to artists for when I'm making stuff. You could also see it in the extended map. Like, this is how I do a mock-up, and then I tell people what is there verbally or in text, depending on the situation. And that's how this turns into that. I can't find the rest of that room. Oh well. You know what? I can also, now that things are weird with Elden Ring, and I haven't heard from Hesper in months, there was going to be... Yeah, I can talk about this. So I just had to parse for a moment if I could talk about this. We were going to do a playthrough of Elden Ring with specific restrictions on what we could play as, based on Final Fantasy. The idea was, the rules are, at the start of the run, randomly draft jobs based on the number of players plus 2. Reroll duplicates, assign those jobs to any of the players. Changing class can only be done with a larval tier in a mausoleum. Each mausoleum lets the party member change class with one party member change class once, instead of its normal use. And then fighter can use any non-colossal melee weapons, crossbow, shields, great shields, heavy armor, physical damage, ashes, no magic, no spirits, starting class warrior. Monk can only use fist and claw weapons, light and leather armor. It can use any 2 fingers or golden order miracles, and can use spirits that are ranged attackers. Thief can only use daggers and short bows, but can use any items. Some of the items are actually locked for most characters. Chemist can use perfumes and stuff. White mage can use any holy ashes and any non-dragon, non-pyromancy miracles. all the way down, you know, with ninja, samurai, ranger, bard, dragoon, chemist, dark knight. Geomancer was added that can only use torches and hammers as weapons, and that can only use bestial incantations, gravity, and gravity magic. You know, the purpley gravity things. And the only spirits they can summon are land squirts and soul jars. Beastmaster used whips and axes and was not allowed to have an offhand weapon. But they could summon any bestial spirit. No axe on Geomancer? No, it was too powerful. We decided it was too powerful because Geomancer we wanted to be a casting class, so it was more like a Final Fantasy Geomancer with bells replaced with torches, so you could use torches as your weapon. Oh yeah, Time Mage also. Time Mage could use gravity magic and it could use daggers and twin blades, stuff like that. It was a really cool idea, and it is a cool idea, and I will release this list someday. Black Mage can only use daggers and scythes. Blue Mage can use Death Sorcery, Fire, and Fire Giant incantations, as well as any boss or enemy spells, or Frenzy. They can also use Frenzy spells. So Death Sorcery, Fire Giant incantations, and Frenzy could be used by Blue Mage, with the only weapons being curved swords and shields. There was a lot to this, and there was a couple things we had to do for balance. Like, Summoner we gave halberds to, just because there was no one else other than Dragoon who was really using halberds, and they needed something else to do. But they could only use Ashes of War that summon things, and it could only use magic from Dragon Communions, because you summon the dragon and it casts a spell. That's kind of the gimmick. But was allowed to use any spirit summon, including legendary. So you could actually summon, you know, Tish or that headless person. So that was one of their big benefits, is they actually could summon for any boss fight. Berserker could only use light armor and could use axes, great swords, great axes, great hammers, and all colossal weapons, and was allowed to use bestial incantations or blood as well. Mystic Knight, always a favorite of mine, could only use elemental Ashes of War and Frenzy and Armament miracles. So buffs, they can only use self-buffs with swords and spears. Paladin obviously writes itself. You can only use offensive miracles. Ninja could use some of the assassination things, but could only use katana, curved swords, and must always be dual wielding, unless they're using a short bow. Ranger, any ranged weapon, of course, and axes, because, well, I'm a Final Fantasy XI nerd. Bard could use any two fingers magic and any non-legendary spirit summons, with it restricted to daggers and thrusting swords and cloth and leather armor. And light bows. Dragoon, all pole arms and any armors, can use dragon incantations, but the only spirit summon that you can use is the Warhawk. You can only summon the Warhawk. Chemist can use all the bubble weapons and all torches and thrusting swords, and can use all the perfumes. Perfumes, tools, pots, soldiers. Oh yeah, that was the other thing about Thief. Thief sounds bad on paper until you realize that Thief is the only one that can use the ritual pots and that sort of like perfumes and ritual pots and stuff. Them and Chemist were the only ones who really had access to that. Anyways, I had an entire intro planned. I actually have stuff recorded, like, for introducing each of the classes and how to play it. It was gonna be super heckin' cool. Anyways, I made a logo for it. I actually made a full logo for Final Fantasy Remembrance as the Elden Ring, for that concept. This was going to be the concept. I actually made this specifically for that event. This is actually a transparent PNG. It just doesn't show up great here. But like, I was really proud of that, and I kind of wish we did it. But Hesper had a whole bunch of personal stuff and fell off of the, face of the world. And then Elden Ring DLC came out. Oh, I constantly surprise you with your Aw, thank you, Getty. I like game design. It's fun. Where is ImageVar? I'm gonna put a thing in here. What's in there now? Oh yeah, my root beer float. Hey, root beer float. Yay. When are we getting Jade merch? Huh? Eh? 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 Don't worry about that one. If anyone doesn't know, there is a Fourth Wall shop that's available. Too spicy for YouTube. I mean, Safi needs to do a couple edits on the final one for that. But yeah, no, a Jade body pillow. It was the final thing that was redacted there. Honestly, the mouse pad and like the prints of all these gorgeous settings, like each of these is available as an art print. Like I'm not gonna shill merch too much. I do plan on doing a new keychain set. And I do plan on doing a small trial grade plushie. It's not going to be as good as you think. We can talk afterwards, Safi. But there is going to be a small trial grade plushie. It's going to be like a keychain plushie. It's going to be one of those like tiny things. But it is going to be. I can pull up. Yeah, I can post in the Discord what the style. If I can just find it real quick, I can post it right here. So give me a second. The thing is that having proper plushies made is blindingly expensive. We all know this. If you've actually worked in any sort of this sort of thing, it do be expensive. Shoutouts entirely to my good friend over at Pack Tactics, who just had his first plushie design made, like real true plushie design. It's beautiful. It looks great. This will just take me a second. There it is. Give me a second to get a image pulled up for you. Sorry for the delay. I can't just like right-click copy image off this. So I actually have to copy it into Paint and save it, and then I'll post it. Sorry for the delay. No. Why would you do that to me, computer? Where did I save it? Oh, I didn't actually finish saving it. Whoopsies. That'll probably help if I actually hit the save button. This. It's just gonna be this kind of plushie. It's just gonna be printed on both sides and stuffed. It'll be a keychain plushie. That's all. It'll be a decent size. It'll be cute, but that's the kind of thing that I can actually make without, you know, yeah. And then making more merch will be based off people's reception to this. Do I need art for it? Actually, I might. I'll talk to you later about that. I was just, yeah, we can figure that out. I was going to use some existing art that I had, but we could do custom art if you were amicable to the idea. But yeah, that's the kind of plushie that it would be. It would be a keychain plushie that you can take a little Jade with you. It'll be like 13 centimeters or so, and it'll probably be like either 15 or 20 bucks, depending on how it looks to have it sent out. I mean, 13 centimeters is not bad. That's 5.1 inches. That's a decent size, you know. That's worth it. That's worth a 20, I think. That's worth a 15. That's worth somewhere in that range. Probably 15 US. Anyways, that is stuff. There's all your channel updates. I'll be starting Elden Ring on Monday. After that, we'll be going into several of the Metroidvanias that I have here. It'll probably be Dead Cells. It'll be Blasphemous, Dead Cells, and Ender Lilies is probably going to be the thing. I have Iconoclasts and I also have Soldiers, but not a lot of people watch the Soldiers episodes that are already made. So I don't know if I want to do that, and I feel like Iconoclast would fill into that same void, that same abyss, where it looks like a really cool and fun game, but I don't know if people would actually watch, you know? Because I was so happy and so proud of the Soldiers videos, but they wildly underperformed, and people didn't seem to be interested in them, like, just channel-wise. So, probably going to, I don't know about these things, I might just play on Iconoclast and Soldiers on my own. Soldiers S-O-U-L but, yeah, I enjoyed it too, and Hensha did all the editing, and it was really good. Like, there was some very good, edits in there. You watched, oh yeah, you were wonderful. But like, when most of my videos are getting, you know, 70 or, 70 to 100 views, and that one clocked in at the time at like 30, you know, that kind of changes my excitement on it, you know? Yeah, actually, okay, it has 81 views on it, but it has 81 views having premiered a year and a half ago, so that's everything total. By comparison, the last Hanzi stream has over 70 views, and it was a few days ago. The Spiro Reignited stream from last night already has 73 views. You know? So, like... And yeah, Hensha's a good bean. The stuff with Hensha is... her pricing is based on how much work she does, instead of just like going by the instead of just going by you know, how long the video is. So by doing a fairly simple, you know, having it fairly simple with some simple edits, I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I was very happy with how much it cost. But I can't have Hensha edit every single video. Anyways, welcome to the Comfy Cave. enjoy your stay. You will always be welcome here. And you're only a couple days travel from Keston for any of the comforts of a city. You're only a short trip to Tiffle to be able to get any supplies that you need. And no one will bother you back here in the comfy cave. You can be here, be safe, and live in a comfortable and happy life with all of us here. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again real soon. Cheers, friends. I love you.